Forgive me for what may first appear to be a black pill, but I have to talk about this story. Democrat Katie Porter says terms groomer and pedophile discriminate against sexual orientation. Anti-LGBTQ activists have appropriated this terminology and used it to slander LGBTQ people and our allies as predatory, said one witness. Katie Porter was speaking as a member of Congress at a congressional hearing and said that accusations of groomer and pedophile insinuate someone is committing a criminal act simply based on their identity. But that's not true. You're insinuating that grooming and abusing children is quite literally that criminal act. But you see, this is what they do when they shift the Overton window, either intentionally or as an emergent phenomenon. What I mean by emergent phenomenon is that I don't know that Katie Porter is trying intentionally to normalize grooming children, but there is no point at which a person like her takes stock of where we are as a country and says, whoa, wait a minute. What are you showing children? Yeah, no. Stop that. Knock it off. What they do is to pander to their base, and many of these activists pander to their base. They just defend it no matter what because the others oppose it. And that's how things get dark. What ends up happening is that Katie Porter is now actively defending individuals who seek to groom and abuse children under this premise of so long as it's just the grooming, she feels it's not a criminal act. In fact, groomer is an identity. Huh? Now, if I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt, I could say something like what she really means is people are accusing LGBTQ people of being groomers, when in reality, people are accusing individuals of being groomers and pedophiles. But because these people are on a campaign to hate the other, or maybe I shouldn't even give them the benefit of the doubt, because they keep trying to associate groomer with LGBTQ, they are convincing Democrats to entertain that in Congress. I'd like to show you, and be warned, I apologize for what you're about to see. I mean it. Disney-affiliated drag queen welcomes children to show featuring simulated sex and nudity. You can see the image here is censored because what's being showed is overt nudity. They are showing children nudity. And when we say this is grooming, they say, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not grooming. But it is. This is the point. When Democrat Katie Porter comes out and defends it, irrespective of what these people are actually doing, she doesn't care. She just says, well, my constituents like it, so I better defend it. She is allowing the expansion of this. And thus I say, it doesn't need to be a conspiracy. It could be an emergent phenomenon. That is, Katie Porter doesn't know, doesn't care. As long as it gets her brownie points on Twitter and with her voter base, she will defend anything they tell her to. Now, this kind of mentality is not all bad. And I'm not referring to the grooming. I'm referring to a politician who says, look, I don't know a whole lot about this very specific policy on this particular mineral or quarry, but I can see that my constituents very much care. They've elected me to represent them. And as such, I will say it is what they want. They want this quarry in operation. They want this oil field in operation. But there does still have to be some standard where you look into what it is you're supporting. In this instance, we are now seeing the overt expansion into the defense by Democrats of groomers and pedophiles. And it's shocking. But I'm not trying to blackpill you. In fact, I'm here to show you that things actually are improving. Christopher Rufo tweeted, Texas legislators have introduced a bill to abolish diversity, equity, and inclusion in the state university system. And so we'll get into this. That's the point I'm trying to bring up, that people are actively calling this out. But in order to do so, you have to know about it. So before we get started, head over to timcast.com, become a member, click that join us button. Support our work and you'll get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL show Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. Plus our other shows like the comedy Stylings of Cast Castle, silly skits and stuff like that, as well as Tales from the Inverted World and more shows to come. We're working. We're doing what we can to expand, and we've got we got a bunch of stuff going on. I just want to tell you, we got cafes in the works. The newest building, we just got it. We're setting up a cafe studio. It's going to be a hangout. members only, hang out on a Friday night show, get to watch the show. We'll be upstairs, you'll be downstairs, we'll have security. We got to take security seriously. But hopefully by the end of next year, we'll have 4 of these locations. I hope we could do 10. And then we have our own coffee shops popping up all over the place where you can hang out. Members get special privileges or something like that. We'll figure it out. But we're working really, really hard. We want to be influential, and we want people to believe in individuality, freedom, liberty, personal responsibility, family. Let's read the news and talk about what's going on. From timcast.com. California Representative Katie Porter said the terms groomer and pedophile were suggestive of a person's sexual orientation and identity. Porter further claimed use of the terms to describe a person was alleging that person is a criminal because of their orientation or identity. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me play the clip for you so you can hear, yes, that's what she said.
This allegation of groomer and pedophile, it is alleging that a person is criminal somehow and engaged in criminal acts merely because of their identity, their sexual orientation, their gender identity. So this is clearly prohibited under Twitter's content, yet you found hundreds of these posts on the platform. Your team filed complaints about these posts, correct?
Yes.
And how often did Twitter act to take down these posts, which violated its own content policy?
Very rarely.
That's actually not true. Now, there was a period, very briefly, where Twitter did ban the word groomer, irrespective of context. Now, that's really, really strange and creepy. What happens is you get a campaign from leftists, people like this woman, to try and convince people that when I, because Media Matters put me at the top of the list, say an individual who seeks to sexually exploit a child is grooming them, they say, why are you making fun of gay people? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm talking about adults, regardless of their identity, targeting children. Did you hear what Katie Porter said? Groomer and pedophile allege that a person is criminal merely because of their orientation or identity. Now, I'm sure some of you will try to explain away what she said. And maybe it's fair, maybe it's not. That, no. What she's really saying is that you're accusing them of being a groomer simply because they're LGBTQ. But that's not what any of us are doing. I'm sure there are people on Twitter who are trying to claim that, and I don't believe them, because the high-profile individuals who are calling out groomers include Blair White and Gays Against Groomers, Ariel Scarcella, for instance, LGBTQ people who are like, stop targeting children. But they are accusing someone of being a criminal. What ends up coming out in what may be intentional or may be an emergent phenomenon is that what she's saying is don't accuse someone of crimes simply because they're a pedophile. Okay. Deep down, there may be people with strange feelings. There is one prominent YouTube host who talked about banging animals. Now, I don't know that he actually went and did that. If he wants to, it's different from actually going out and doing it. Fine. But if you want to get to the point of public conversation where you would tell the public to stop criticizing child abusers, I think we should criticize all of them all the time. As Michael Knowles pointed out, do we really need to have that debate on why that's good? No, we don't open the door to that. And it's an interesting point. Although I think, as to Michael Knowles' argument, whether he wants to or not, there will be people advocating for this stuff on these platforms. In my opinion, I actually don't know that a private platform should allow advocacy for this because they're crimes. You see, people are like, the argument the other day was that Luke was saying people should be allowed to have their free speech so we can argue against it. And because of the censorship, no one's been able to argue against it. And I'm like, okay, well, if you go on Twitter and start advocating for grooming and pedophilia, you're advocating for criminal activity. I think that's okay to say, no, we don't tolerate that. You are effectively inciting someone to commit crimes and violent ones against children. So I'm actually fine with banning people who would advocate for that. I know. I'm not the arbiter of morality. There are some challenges here, but you heard her say it. What they've done is they've graduated from groomer means all LGBTQ people, they say. And no matter how many times we say, no, it doesn't. Gays Against Groomer are LGBTQ. Blair White is. Ariel Scarcella is. They're telling you to stop targeting children. From that point, they bring us to the next step. This is how they do it, incrementalization. Now they say, how dare you criticize someone for being a groomer? We knew that point was coming. But here it is. Disney-affiliated drag queen welcomes children to show featuring simulated sex and nudity. Drag queen, you are such an awesome mom for bringing your kid. I can't show you these images. They're censored for a reason. Here's the funny thing. I will bet that YouTube will demonetize this video for me showing you this. It's kind of strange, isn't it? That they would show nudity to children, sexualized performances where men are simulating, intercourse or sodomy, I guess. And they say it's fine for families. They say that I'm wrong for criticizing this and calling it grooming. But YouTube certainly does not want advertisers to appear anywhere near it. So what's the deal, YouTube? Who's wrong? Is it me or is it you? Are you the bigot or am I rightly calling out what is not appropriate for children? Drag queens have launched a Christmas tour dubbed The Naughty List that has already garnered controversy from a journalist who observed and recorded one event held in Austin, Texas, describing it as a blatantly sexualized show meant to groom children. The show's host, Andrew Robert Levitt, who performs under the stage name Nina West, is affiliated with two of the foremost children's television networks, Disney and Nickelodeon. His tour is scheduled to make 18 stops in cities across the U.S. for a total of 36 shows. Now, the most egregious images have been censored, but I warn you, there may be some images you'll see in these tweets that you may find disturbing. In one tweet, there's a jar. It says, put the tip in, see how it feels. Is that appropriate for children? No, it's not. We can see here, the host of this show, Nina West, is affiliated with Disney Plus and Nickelodeon. They are grooming children. It has nothing to do with being a drag queen or LGBTQ. It just so happens that these individuals are groomers. I'll say it every single time for that reason. Groomer does not mean LGBTQ. And in fact, there are more straight white male groomers than there are LGBTQ groomers. It just so happens that these groomers are doing it out in public under the guise of some kind of performance for pride. No, they're manipulating kids. They're grooming kids. They're abusing and exploiting them. That's it. There's a viral video of drag queens where they're saying, stop bringing your kids around this. It's not appropriate. Drag queens actually saying it. That's fantastic. Have your drag performance. I'm all about it. I'm pro-gay marriage. I'm not a conservative. I'm not going to cry that same-sex marriages exist. I will agree with conservatives about the Abrahamic institution of marriage and what it means. But in terms of government-enforced contracts on civil partnership, I'm in favor of it. I don't know if you can mingle the religious with the state as they have. That creates some problems, but, it is what it is. Because I'm actually traditional liberal. I've always been. Here's more. The article featured unedited videos and images from the event, which are sometimes graphic in nature, and discretion is therefore advised. Reporter Taylor Hansen, who documented the performance, shared a Twitter thread compiling clips and photos he took while at the event. In his highly critical commentary, Hansen chronicled portions of the show, which included dancers acting out songs such as In a Box, where the performer sauntered around on stage with two prosthetic breasts exposed from a box hanging off his chest. The image is so inappropriate and sensitive that Twitter has placed an auto flag block on the video. Meaning if you want to see it, you got to click it. I'm not going to. I can't. YouTube, I assure you, would find it inappropriate. Twitter has already found it inappropriate. Yet for some reason, these Democrats are saying this is appropriate for children. Okay, I guess. Other men dressed as caricatures while using stage names, I'm not going to read their names, were grinding and humping one another, in which at least 20 children were present. When a second performer asked the boy where his mother was, the male drag queen says, "You're 9? Oh, look at that. Thank you to whoever's mom is out there. Where is your mom? Is mom over here?" the man asked. Once the boy's mother was located, he said, "Hi, Mom. I saw you at the meet and greet, didn't we? Thank you so much for bringing Major out. That's so sweet of you. We love you. That's so sweet of you. This is what we need. Parents like this, ladies and gentlemen. You are such an awesome mom for bringing your kid out to a family-friendly drag show, ladies and gentlemen. Family-friendly." If I actually showed those images, this video might actually get pulled down. You can already make out the obvious simulated sodomy between two men, but there's actually worse images I can't even try to show you, where a guy is let's just say, presenting himself in the buff to children. I should say almost. They try and do some things, but basically what the child sees is what is effectively a nude man. Yeah. It's good that the kids are there. Okay. The exchange prompted Hansen to tweet out some of the more striking scenes from the performance while asking what part of it qualified as family friendly. Outside, meanwhile, Andy No reports. On December 13th, Antifa and far-left protesters in San Antonio showed up in support of the all-ages drag queen Christmas event. The touring show features nudity and sexually charged performances. And I believe many of them were armed, actually. I'm not entirely sure if they were armed. I think they were. No, he just says, okay, yes, he says armed Antifa militants. Okay. Now, this stuff's bad, and they're pushing harder and harder and harder for it. I highlight it because we need to call it out. It's what has to happen. But I want to show you this. Christopher Rufo with the good news. Texas legislators have introduced a bill to abolish DEI programs in the state university system. These have become offices of racialist ideology, speech suppression, and political indoctrination and deserve zero taxpayer support. I agree completely. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to go through, but they're working on it. There is a reality of where we end up if this is not stopped. From the Daily Caller. Witness testifies bank threatened to withhold loan if he didn't tweet climate change talking points. There we go. Social credit score, withholding funding. We had on Riley Moore on Timcast IRL. He's the state treasurer for West Virginia. He explained how he banned ESG banking in the state. Why? ESG, environmental social governance. Financial institutions were halting funding to the fossil fuel industry under the guise of climate change. Now, I know it's a sharp contrast from what we just saw with the Disney affiliated drag queens and stuff like that, but it's all part of the same issue. Grooming, introduction, incrementalization. Right now, what's happened is you have Media Matters and other leftist organizations accusing me and others like Jack Posobiec and Blair White of using the term groomer as a slur. But we don't. Groomer is used to define an activity done by an individual regardless of whether they're LGBTQ or a straight white man or a straight black man or woman. And I've explained before, the most common form of grooming most likely is when a straight white man finds a teenage girl and asks her to model and then slowly convinces her to do more revealing stuff and then eventually has her doing full-on porn. That's grooming. This is also grooming. Why are they lying and claiming that we're smearing all gay people despite the fact that many of them are gay? Incrementalization. Now a Democrat has come out and said she defends it. She supports it. These all ages drag shows that we warned about are now engaging in simulated sodomy. That's what they're trying to do. Now that the media is on board, defending everything they do, they one-up it. They do it a little worse. And then the narrative is set. You're just a bigot. You're just, transphobic or whatever. And you try to tell people and they say, I heard that story last week. You were lying. It was just a dance show. That's what they said. It's just a dance show. It's a fashion show. What's the difference? Now they're simulating sodomy on stage in front of children. That's what they're doing. That's called grooming. You start with the lightest thing. We're just dancing, having a good time. It's normal. Then once they're involved, you one-up it. Literally grooming. Think about it this way. 16-year-old girl sees an ad, be a model. She goes into a photo shoot and the guy's taking photos and she's wearing this beautiful dress and they're like, that was really amazing. Here's $500. You're a model now. Everyone's going to see you and you're going to be a big shot. Why don't we come back and do more modeling next week? She comes back. They say, let's do this dress. Let's do this sailor costume. Hey, would you want to do swimsuit stuff? You do swimsuit stuff, right? Now she's stripping down. Then they start taking pictures. They give her a taste of the money. Eventually, after 3 or 4 times, they say, we want to do a, at-home family thing. You'll be in your bra and panties. It's just like a bikini, and there'll be a guy here, and it'll be like an at-home family catalog thing. It's for like lamps and stuff. And she goes, okay, that's normal. I'm under the covers. We're not doing anything. They do that a few times. And they say, let's do something racier, like drop the shoulder of your dress and look appealing. You've got to do it in increments. You do that, and then she says, okay, I'm not showing anything. Then they say, well, it's just taste. We're going to do some art stuff. It's topless. They increment it one at a time. You're getting paid. It's normal. It's normal. One step closer, one step closer. It's the exact same thing they're doing with these drag shows. It has nothing to do with the individual being LGBTQ. It has everything to do with the fact that it starts with drag, and now it's simulated sodomy. And they said it wasn't happening. They're lying. But we have a hard red line, and I will tell you about it. Now, the reason I highlight this bank and the climate change stuff, it's the same thing. They introduce it in the public, they accuse people of being science deniers, and then one step at a time, they start making it mandate. Take a look. Bud Brigham, the chairman of Brigham Minerals, testified Thursday in Texas that a Wall Street bank threatened to deny him loans unless he tweeted out specific political messages. And there you go. Eventually, they'll come to you under ESG and say, hey, you were denouncing that little old harmless drag event. No, we want you to come out and say you were wrong. Otherwise, no financing for you. Same thing. It's the social credit score. It's the sick, twisted world we're headed towards. This is the end result, the end game they want. To be able to wield financial power, government power, corporate power against businesses unless you fall in line with ESG and their weird grooming cult garbage. Brigham testified that during a capital raise with Credit Suisse, with whom he claims to have raised over $1 billion over 15 years, the bank instructed him to put out overtly political statements on ESG. Brigham explained that an unidentified bank almost immediately approved him for a loan, while Credit Suisse failed to respond to his loan application. When he reached out to ask why, Brigham claims a rep at Credit Suisse said the bank might not be able to partner with Brigham, allegedly telling him that climate change is real and it's not debatable. Brigham claims he responded that science is ever evolving, prompting the representative to offer an opportunity to strike a deal, but only if he parroted the bank's climate agenda. Very different political messaging, but still in line with the cult. So what happens next? Democrat Katie Porter. I just showed you what they were doing, simulating sodomy. And she has the nerve to come out and say, they're not doing anything wrong, So she's actively defending what they're doing. Why? She doesn't care. You could show her the video and she would say, I don't care. Why? Because her constituents won't vote for her unless she throws them red meat. It's a sad reality, but that's what it is. I want to show you one more story. I can't do this anymore. Trump's former advisor, Steve Bannon, slams Donald's major announcement about superhero NFTs and says, step your game up. The reason why this one's important is that Donald Trump announced a major announcement was coming. Everybody thought it was going to be a big policy decision, and it turns out he's selling NFTs. Now, to be fair, he sold 45,000 NFTs for $100 each in like 2 hours or something. Cool, 4.5 million. Hey, that's going to go a long way for a political campaign, so I can respect that. But a lot of people thought it was cringe. Trump's most ardent supporters said that that wasn't the real announcement. The real announcement was his policy proposal on free speech, which actually was pretty big. But even Bannon says, I can't do this anymore. He said, he's one of the greatest presidents in history, but I got to tell you, what business partner and everybody on the comms team and anybody at Mar-a-Lago, and I love the folks down there, but we're at war. They ought to be fired today. You may say that wasn't the real message, but people thought it was. So there was a fumble here. I think Trump's a funny guy. The commercial was actually really funny. What was cringe about it was that we were waiting for the major announcement, and he said, major announcement, here it is, infomercial. Shouldn't have done it. Even Bannon seems to think so. The reason why I highlight this story in this context is that we do need heroes, and we are at war. With what we're seeing with ESG, with banks, with schools, and with Democrats, the Democrats are coming out in front of Congress and defending child abuse outright. And Donald Trump is selling NFTs. All right. I'm sorry. I don't care. I mean, look, he made money. He needs to make money. I get it. But timing and tact matter. I'm not going to act like, what Donald Trump did is the apocalypse, but it really does feel like he's kind of checked out. So we need strength, stronger individuals to come out and say, you know what? No. We need Donald Trump to come out and go after Katie Porter on Twitter or, I should use on Truth or whatever he wants to do, saying she was wrong to say these things. How could she defend this stuff? Trump came out and talked about free speech. Very important. I'm glad he did. But free speech is just one issue. Without free speech, you lose politically. One of the reasons that Trump lost in 2020, I think ballot harvesting played the biggest role, to be honest, universal mail-in voting. But Trump needed his most ardent supporters, people like Milo, people like Alex Jones. They got censored and shut down, probably to stop Donald Trump. And Trump realizes it only too late. I don't know if Trump is the guy to stand up to the likes of Katie Porter. They keep pushing this stuff. We're seeing good moves in Texas and Florida. So maybe it will be Ron DeSantis. But it's got to be somebody. It's got to be something better than this. Because even Steve Bannon himself is like, come on, man. I agree. We're at war. Children are being targeted. The media is lying. Elon Musk is starting to apply the rules fairly on Twitter, and they're losing their minds. Elon Musk, however, can't run for president, so, it is what it is. Right now, this is the big debate happening on Twitter, and it's nothing but lies. These leftist journalists are arguing that Elon Musk banned people for posting public information. Well, here's the reality. It's not public information. The information being shared is private. This individual, Sweeney, cracked Elon's private information. It's called the PIA. It's how he protects his privacy when he flies. He cracked it using bots, then published his findings, doxing Elon Musk. All of these journalists, the Intercept put out a statement saying it was publicly available information. Yeah, not true. And when I call them out and say it is private, you know what they say? They say, well, after the activist posted it, it became publicly available. This is what we're up against. Hypocrites and liars who want power and will do anything to get it. So here's what I think. What do you think would happen if I funded a real-time journalist tracker? And any one of these people who wants to defend showing Elon Musk's publicly available real-time information, what if I posted their real-time location? I could do it easily using bots tracking their social media. They'd never post again. I could do it so easily by saying, hey, if you live in New York and you see him, post it to the account. We'll upload it. We'll tell you where everybody is. They'd lose their minds. They'd say, no, you can't do that. Why is it okay to do it to Elon? So here's my point. Everything we're seeing, they will lie to your face. Katie Porter will say, they're not doing anything wrong. Being a groomer and a pedophile isn't inherently criminal. That's what she's trying to claim. The crazy thing is being a groomer is exploiting children this way, like at this drag event. It is. They're calling it an identity, a sexuality. When Elon Musk takes action, these people come out and lie, as they always do. When a conservative or a libertarian, independent, anti-war person gets banned, the media lies. No, but they're bigots. Private platform, they can do what they want. When the journalists dox Elon's private location, showing private information, they say, I didn't do anything wrong. The information was already made public. They will lie. It's as I stated several times. You come to a fork in the road and there's two paths, one to safety, one to certain doom. And there's a person on each side and one always tells the truth and one always lies. And that's what it is. How do you know which is which? It's not easy to solve. The riddle, of course, for those who have seen me say it 18 times is you ask either one of them what the other would say, then do the opposite. That's the solution. You ask the guy on the left, what would that guy tell me to do? Well, the liar would lie. He wouldn't tell you which one was the right path. He'd tell you which one was the wrong path. The truth teller wouldn't lie. He'd tell you the liar is going to lie to you and tell you the wrong path. Any way you cut it, they're going to point out the wrong path. You do the opposite. That would be the right path. I don't know if that applies one for what we're seeing. What I can tell you, though, is we are at the point where Democrats in Congress are defending this. Overt nudity, simulated sodomy in front of children. At first, they said it was just dancing. It's just a fashion show. Then, when all these people got on board, it turned into this. And now it turns into Katie Porter defending it. We all saw the Veritas expose. We all saw the dean defend it. And the response I'm getting from the left is, it's just sex ed for queer people. What? No, it's kink education. They're not teaching kids about love and reproduction. They're exposing them to kink. Not appropriate for kids. What's the end goal? I look at all of this, and I think it's the destruction and collapse of this country. But as I stated, it's not about being blackpilled. What Rufo is showing us, what the media is showing us is that people are calling this out and people are pushing back. And I think we are winning. Now, they're getting more extreme, don't get me wrong. The night is always darkest before the dawn, but things are heating up. And I think they're heating up in a way where in Texas and Florida and other states, they're starting to say, hey, I don't know about this. And people like Katie Porter, I don't think will be long for politics. I think people need to show this video. Ask these people to answer for why it is that men simulated sodomy in front of children. For what purpose? It's art. You know what? People who want to defend that perhaps are too far gone, but that worries me. Because the night being darkest before the dawn, it could mean that this is it. And we pull out of the tailspin and people start waking up being like, okay, that's too much. The scary thing is, after the Veritas expose, I think they'll defend it. I think they'll just say, no, we're okay with it. And then what? Moderate individuals in this country will not accept this, going near their kids this way. But the cult will, and the cult will defend it, and they will wield politics, and politicians will just defend them because they're insane. And then I think it leads to a dark place. The end result, of course, being something violent. I look at what they're doing with these kids, simulating sodomy on stage in front of children. And what do you think's going to happen? I'm worried that some angry and crazy person will do something violent. Here's what needs to happen. The police should have arrested those people. If those two men went to a children's playground and did it, they'd be arrested. But why here? Why won't the police shut it down? Law enforcement is gone, basically. And because law enforcement isn't doing its job anymore, I think you're going to start seeing vigilante action, which I strongly discourage. And I hope doesn't happen. But it doesn't matter what my opinion is, because law enforcement won't do anything. And I worry that someone will just decide, so be it. These are trying times, my friends. But I do think we're moving in the right direction. Despite the bad things, despite this insanity, I think there's opportunity before us, and I think things are improving, especially with Elon on Twitter. So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. tonight over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.